After so many weeks of taking material out, it's a whole lot of bricks, and uncovering all the termite damage in this 175-year-old house. And I think this is the only thing holding up the stair. Boy, does it feel good to have some fresh lumber coming in. Last week we had a bit of a hiccup, and because of my mistake, we had to go back and redo work. But I'm sure that's the last hiccup we're gonna have, right? So now we're off to the races. Let's get this house framed. It's a beautiful day in Philadelphia for a little bit of framing. The cold weather's breaking, the birds are chirping, and these walls are going up quicker than an Eagles fan climbing a pole on Broad Street. I had a big scare here because we framed up all of the second floor walls and we took a measure to get it level up here, but we started on the other side and then we're meeting up with it. This right here is about 3/4 of an inch to an inch lower than our new subfloor is gonna be, which would mean I would have like an inch gap as you transition from old to new. I obviously don't want that. Luckily, we realized that this beam is just pretty badly sagging. So at each end, it's basically level, and at the center, it's low. So we're supporting on the first floor and into the basement, then we're gonna jack this up, and eventually we're gonna have a new PSL that we can bolt this joist to so it doesn't sag anymore. After a busy day of framing, check out what we got done. Got a door, door. We got a bedroom, got the subfloor on. Finished up all of the framing for this cantilever going out the back. We also got this bathroom wall here, shower window here. And a note on the bathroom, I called the plumber to figure out how much I need to fur out this wall to fit my shower mixer. And then I realized that it's probably a bad idea to have the shower mixer on this masonry wall. Well, it wouldn't be on the masonry wall. It would be furred out and in like 2x3s or something. But that means that you can't access the back of it. So if it does happen to leak, you have to pull off all the tile or whatever, shower material you have. And that sucks. It's really nice to have access, like an access panel on the back of your shower. So that makes me consider having the shower wall here and a 3-foot shower and then the head of the shower coming out that way. But it would make the bathroom feel a little bit smaller, so I gotta figure that out. Over here in the room that will be eventually my roommate's office space, we have the cantilever framing, which is pretty intense, just like downstairs with the cantilever. We have a triple 2x10 there, 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 and another triple 2x10 right there. That's pretty crazy. Lots of triples, and that's all just to get me 2 feet here of extra space, which in hindsight, I wish I cantilevered out 3 foot. I really think I could have. Yeah, that would have been a lot better, but whatever, here we are. After a ton of deliberation and back and forth with the framer, the structural engineer, and now with some masonry experts, finally have a plan for this wall. And their insight was that this brick here is all fine down to the first floor and down to the foundation, but the wall going up to the roof line is a little bit more iffy. There's a lot more spalling and deterioration. They said it's probably a bad idea to rest the ridge beam, which is, all the way at the roof. We're on the second floor now, and there's 2 PSLs. One that goes right here that ties into the floor framing, and one in the ridge of the roof that connects the rafters going this way and the new rafters. So the plan now is to use this brick to support the 3rd floor PSL, and for a little bit of extra extra structure, we're gonna pour a little concrete footing basically for the PSL, probably 16 inches long by a foot or maybe 16 inches deep. And that's gonna help distribute the load of the beam onto the brick. And then we're just gonna have a post going from this beam to the ridge beam above. And that post is nice because then we're not relying on any of this and any of the third floor bad brick to support the roof load, and instead it's all gonna come down right here. So we have the plan, but I'm still waiting for the structural engineer to send me the detail. Where is everyone? Yeah, the crew's not here anymore. You want to know why? You're a bad GC. You should have solved this problem probably last week. You knew we needed a detail for the concrete, new beam on old brick, new load distributed. Geez, okay, I know I'm not the best GC. I'm learning as I go here. I'll send an email to the engineer. We'll get the detail.
Several days later.
Good news, we got the detail from the engineer. The bad news, the engineer had to upsize this beam. Luckily, we can return that, but we can't return this steel hardware. Now we're gonna need to order more. I need the Simpson ECCQ, the end column cap with the SDS screws. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not enough steel. I'm gonna add one more. I need the CVSQ, like alphabet soup. Total comes to 582. Ugh. Unfortunately, it's gonna be at least a week until I get the hardware to do that concrete, so in the meantime, we got plenty of projects to stay busy. This part worked in my head, but I don't know if it's gonna work in real life. Oh, and this is backwards. You kidding me? So now that the framers are gone, I need to start the long process of cleaning all this stuff up. All that stuff, we got all this mess on the floor in here. This has been a mess because it was like inaccessible when the tarp was here. But now is a good time to take all the nails out of this old wood, sort it. There's some really cool big pieces. These are like 3" by 7". And I've got 2 of them here that aren't termite damaged. These were the good part of the beam that used to hold the brick up here. And this section of that beam was all good, and then this section was entirely rotted. It was crazy that somehow that didn't collapse with the load of the brick on it, but plan with these and with a lot of the lumber. I want to integrate it into the house wherever I can, and I think in the bathroom could be a great place to do it. Here, the bathroom wall is actually going to have to be furred out, and it's going to be here. So there's going to be a bit of a cavity here. If the vent stack's here, this bump has to come up just because the toilet needs to clear this brick wall. It's complicated. But this second wall that we're going to build here can come up and then return, and there can be a big shelf here, kind of like above the toilet and above the vanity. And I'd love to use that big, thick piece of wood as a big shelf, which I love this idea of a big shelf in the bathroom to kind of add counter space to your vanity. That's a cool use for these beams, and throughout the house, I'm sure I'll find places to put old lumber. Now it's about time we clean up this mess. There's so much wood in the basement, but there's about to be a lot more wood in the basement. Check this out. A lot of these old beams have these, I'm guessing they're numbers marked, and they had some type of plan when they were putting this place together, and a lot of the studs have it. Doesn't look like every piece of lumber. Really interesting to see the marks of the original builders here. We got a little bit of rain here in Philadelphia. So far, I've actually been very fortunate with weather since we've torn down the roof and everything. This was the only major rain, and we tarped it up as best as we could, but the tarps are pretty shot. There's holes, and it's like, they help, but also the wind like blew them up, and usually because we don't have the subfloor down, the tarps just gather water into the joist bays. So I spent this morning poking up at the tarp, trying to get the water off. Also, I had to turn on the power and get the pump going in the basement. You can see and maybe hear the drops of water. Everything's been working its way down there. And now I've just been working to dry things out. I've been sweeping a lot of water. I'm gonna open up all the doors and windows, let things dry out, run a fan. Finally feeling like spring. And maybe the one perk of starting in the winter here is having less rain than springtime. And maybe we can have a roof by spring. That'd be great. So I noticed this floor was a bit bouncy, and I think there's some nails missing in this subfloor. Then I looked downstairs. Look how they missed all the nails into these joists. There and here you can see these nails. So that's pretty much not secured. And this one I don't see missed nails, but I think that's just because they weren't put in. So I'm gonna go back and fix this. And the nice thing is I can pound up these nails. That'll basically show me where this joist is. These stairs have been getting a little bit wet, and it's just not great to have the wood under soggy carpet. And if I can keep these treads, I really want to. With these old stairs, it's just a little scary. Like, you want to just not touch them as much as you can, because once you start going around and modifying things, the city might not like that. But we know we need to replace this post. And I might just replace it with the historic wood because I have a lot of it, and because then also it will be more of the existing stair. And part of replacing this is going to be opening up these joints here just to try to find out how they're connected and how we're going to be able to replace this and keep these stairs. Yeah. Yuck. I'm not sure if this is the original wood of the stairs. If it is, it looks really good, but they might have retreaded it when they changed the stair layout down here. Not sure, but I got a lot of staples to take out. This railing has really taken a beating. Once we get into replacing this, of course, we're gonna need all this cleared out. So now's a decent time to do it. And it doesn't take much to demo this. Nice. Just a quick refresher on why we have to replace this column. It's because we got a lot of termite damage in here. Yeah, shocker, right? I always love seeing the cross section of the wood because it kind of shows you where the termites were crawling through. And again, it's pretty solid right here, and it's just, you know, a little termite highway on one side of it. Interesting. To continue this prep of eventually fixing up these stairs, this door has got to go. Oh my God. I mean, what happens when I walk on the stair? The crazy thing is, you almost can't feel it. I don't know how it's possible. Like, like there's nothing holding it up. Let's just keep making a mess here. So we have some good news and some bad news here. This stair used to be a winder that winded around, and it used to come out right here. There's a little bit of evidence right here where the bottom tread used to be, and you would enter the stair here. At some point they rerouted this stair. But anyway, I expected that these treads might be different than those treads because these were in the 70s or so, those were in the 1850s. But to my surprise, they are all the same, which is really great when it comes to refinishing these. This lumber is over an inch thick. It's 1 1/8 roughly. So super solid stairs and they all match. That's great. Now the bad news, I honestly don't know what's been holding these stairs up all these years, because this is a stringer. If I come over here, you can see all these stairs are supported by this. There's some 2x4s, but those are just to support the drywall. And then this comes to a big old nail right here. And that nail, you can see that nail coming through right here. And it's really, it doesn't have a lot to grab onto. All this is rotted out. And then down here, this is structural. Like you can see through it. But just based on how hard it is to move this, you can tell that that's taking some load. So that's scary. I mean, the framers have been carrying up like a bunch of lumber and just heavy things up these stairs. I don't know how they haven't deflected. Like I checked the level up here and the stairs are actually pretty level. Like you would expect that that side would have gone down because of that bad column, but that's not the case. Another piece of good news, as I cautiously walk up the steps, you can see here a bad fix. So this is like the normal nosing of the stair, and then this is the old nosing, and then they just put plywood on it, which makes the difference in the riser height of the steps all wonky. So I want to fix that, of course. And another good news, where they did this, or the reason they did that, you can see that the tread, something happened here. But I'm just really glad that they kept this tread in there because it would have been really hard to match that lumber. But now I can just re-secure that in place and like block it out underneath and bring the stair back to what it's supposed to be. If you've ever pulled up carpet, especially on stairs, you know what's going on here. Yeah, what's going on is just removing a million staples. And it's kind of funny when you look at these old houses and it seems like everything's falling apart, but the staple guy on the carpet team, he did his job and it seems like he always does his job. I got the steps a little bit more cleaned off here. Despite this column being in such bad shape, the stair is actually still pretty level, which means I don't think that I need to jack up the stringer. I think I just need to put it in place, hold it there, get the new post in, and then secure it. So that makes my life a little bit easier here. Another piece of, I guess, good news is I have so much of this old lumber that I can pretty easily match it with this. This used to be a rafter for the ceiling. I looked through all that I had and this was about the straightest I got. It's really not too bad when you look down the end. Really not much movement. It's you know, not perfectly straight. It's an old piece of wood, but I think it'll do just fine. And it's super solid. No signs of termite damage in this one. So it will make for a fine replacement. One of the things I was exploring as I demoed out everything I could is the shape of this post. And I'm actually really relieved that there are no like special notches in this post. It's just a vertical post and it's notched around the header down here. So it'll be pretty easy to just replicate that notch. I need to cut this out, get this bolt out, support the stringer. All right, at this point, I'm definitely just over-explaining things, but it's actually not to explain it to you. It's just trying to convince myself that I know what I'm doing. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Let's see what happens. Now's a good time to mention, too, I've never done anything like this. I've just learned a little bit, I think, from watching the framers work, and I think I can do it. And the best way to find out is by trying to do it. So now, all these stairs are still connected to the post a little bit, so let's unconnect them, shall we? All right, we're getting somewhere. A little convincing with the hammer. It's getting looser and looser. Very gently now. Very precarious now. So far, so good. Good news is it looks like the stringer doesn't have any termite damage. That's great. The next step is to notch this to match the existing one, which is nice to have here to measure. Oh, look at that. It's not too bad. The hard part's gonna be trying to get this thing in place. This part worked in my head, but I don't know if it's gonna work in real life. Right. Why? Oh, and this is backwards. That's a problem too. Haha, okay, yeah. There we go. Yeah, it's a tight fit. Level. That's pretty right on. I know this way's off. Yeah, the bottom needs to come in. If I hit the top of this thing, does it want to come down? All right, it was hard to see from that other angle, sorry. But right here was about an inch gap, so by wedging this in, we scooted the bottom of this over, which in turn just straightened out that whole post. All right, now that this is braced in place, we can get some GRK screws in here, and I'm gonna pre-drill them just to try to avoid cracking this thing. To secure this thing to the bottom and to the stringer, we have these big structural GRK screws, and hopefully they do the trick. We got it all screwed up, so now the moment of truth to put some weight on it. Look at that, no movement at all. Wow. Look at that. I still have to secure all these treads and risers to the new column, but I'm really pleased with how this went in. Right here you can see the base, 5 screws. Up here we have a few screws in that side. I embedded a few screws here too. I used a drill bit to get them deeper. And up here I am just really satisfied with how well this new column fits with these treads. And any little gaps can be sealed up. And here there was a piece of trim, so it's not that far off. I've been looking at this and thinking for a while, and I think I finally figured out what to do, and it's not that bad. I'm gonna try to start at the top and level this out, and none of this is connected. And I realized the reason these are all out of level is because I was pounding this post down and it was just dragging all this stuff with it. Pretty simple here to just level out the bottom and then just start moving it up. It's pretty close. Yeah, just a hair more. That just about did the trick. Now for the next step. Oh. Yeah, look at that. That's great. It's too high now. Nice. All right, it's the end of the day. Several hours of problem solving later, and I got it figured out. You can see there's a lot of shims, and that's just because I had to level the treads, and some of them were 8.5 inches, some were 9, and I need to glue them and screw them, and they're feeling better. They're feeling more solid already with our new column. This whole stair project has been a really great challenge to actually put some of the things I've learned into practice and so far I'm pleased with how they've turned out. But at this point, I want to have a more general conversation, not specifically about the house, but more about what led me to getting into this project. Back in 2020, I quit my job, and that was a really scary step to try to make things work independently. And really the catalyst to quit was a bike trip I took with 3 of my friends across the United States, which took 84 days, and it was just a great way to start like a new chapter of my life. And since then, I've really started to adopt this like big project format for my life. After I graduated from architecture school in 2021, I wanted to just keep that same structure and kind of energy of like working on a big project all year and then having something really exciting at the end to be proud of. So the first iteration of that was this bike trip. I did manage to write a blog, so every week of that journey is documented on my website, and you can also find prints of some of my favorite images from that trip. After the bike trip, the next big project I focused on was the Rowhomes project, and you're probably very familiar with it because I used these photos for the thumbnails of the videos, and this was a year-long effort biking around Philadelphia to just document the character of these homes that are ubiquitous in Philadelphia. Rowhomes are everywhere, but when you isolate them and stop to really appreciate the details and the character and the age and the time, it was very compelling to me, and that's why I wanted to photograph it. After that project, I wanted to find another cool building typology to study, and I also wanted to introduce new challenges, and I started the High Rises project that documents these old skyscrapers across the entire United States. So it was an opportunity to travel and see new cities. And another challenge, rather than just using a camera, I used a drone. So I had to get my license, and it was just a whole new logistical thing to tackle with that project. And I made a great website where you can explore all of these buildings kind of in one big grid collage, and you can click on them and explore the history behind the buildings and the characteristics. You can find prints and the book I eventually released for the project. And that project took 3 years to accomplish, which is just crazy, having set out on that journey to document basically all of the cool old buildings. Not very strict criteria. It was just the ones that I thought deserved to be photographed and part of this collection that I wanted to share with people that might not be familiar with those buildings. And just generally the craftsmanship and ornamentation of the Art Deco buildings has been hugely inspirational. But that brings me to now. The High Rises project was coming to a close. I documented 200 buildings across 70 cities, so it was a major effort. And I didn't know what to do next. I have a lot of ideas for photo projects, but I also went to school for architecture, and I had just completed 2 photo projects. So it was a great time to step out of my comfort zone and start a project that was totally different than these 3 projects that came before, and that's this house. And I'm just so glad that I decided to start YouTube. And now looking back, I so wish that I had YouTube videos of all of these projects documenting the ups and downs and challenges overcome. But looking forward, even after the house, I'm so excited to be able to bring you along with whatever project comes next. And like the High Rises project, I think the house is probably going to be a 3-year effort. I think I'll be able to move in by the end of this summer, hopefully. That gives me 5-6 months. I think that's plenty reasonable. But then I have a million little design things that I want to do with 3D printing and laser cutting and bringing in some of that Art Deco inspiration. So I'm just excited for the future, and I'm really thankful to have you along for this journey. So with that, stay tuned next week for more work on this staircase, and hopefully eventually getting the framers back. We'll be moving again soon. So thanks for watching.